Servus and welcome to another episode of the Pro Hockey Pod, episode 30. This week, we've taken a break from the Burlington kids because it seems like I've had a couple of those on in a row here. Another college guy, D1 athlete, Austin Farley joining us this week. This guy's been through the college route, as I said, had a stopover in Sweden and a very good lead in the Allsvenskan there, and now is currently going into his third season in Slovakia. Been trying to get this guy on for, honest to God, 2 months, and our schedules just seem to not work out. But finally, he's here. Welcome to the podcast, Austin Farley.
Thank you. Appreciate being here. And like you said, it's been a while to try to get me on, and I'm excited. And let's get this thing cracking.
Might be the most difficult guest I've ever had so far in terms of planning. But that's good. But yeah, man, like always, I love to take it back to the beginning here. So obviously yourself, American guy, born, I believe, in Park Ridge, Illinois. And someone like myself, like being Canadian, I'm not so familiar with, hockey in the States and stuff, but is that where you first, got to start playing the game of hockey and kind of fall in love with it?
Yeah, I think obviously I come from a big family. So I have 5 brothers and 1 sister that all played. So I'm the second youngest. So, obviously watching them playing growing up as a little kid when you're buzzing around the rink and at games constantly with your little stick, whacking the puck around off the ice. I just kind of grew up in that environment, and they led the path, and I kind of just followed. And it just kind of was evident that this was something that I loved and something that I wanted to do. I didn't know. At that age, you're not looking at Division 1 or whatever, or maybe some guys are that are a little bit more talented, younger growing up. But I was just a kid that loved the game and loved being at the rink and, playing pond hockey and stuff like that with my buddies. So
Did being a younger sibling, I was wondering, were you the one that always had to go in net and they would just rip
oh
pucks at you?
yeah. Oh yeah, it was the worst, man. It was obviously like what are you gonna say to them? They're bigger, stronger too, and you're just a young little puppy that, do whatever they say. So still fun, obviously, like you said, but I got some chances of playing out, but I would say very rarely I was playing out and I was playing in the net.
Surprised you ended up not being a goalie with all that practice. But so basically your minor hockey path, like I find it curious because as I said, I'm not so familiar with the US side of it. I know there's different ways of doing it, but you started out, I believe, like Team Illinois. So is that kind of similar to how it's structured in Canada, where you have like the AAA being the highest, and you'd have like a AA team and a single A team, kind of like similar to that, and you guys would play in a league and then also travel around and do different various tournaments?
Yeah, for sure. So I actually started at CYA. I didn't say that on probably Elite Prospects, but that would be it was my squirt major year, I want to say. That's the first year you can kind of play AAA. So up to that, I obviously started in house league or whatever when you're young, and moved to AA. And I know my parents kind of were like they didn't want anyone playing AAA that young, but it was kind of that was just kind of the route I was going in and developing in the game. And, I wanted to play against better competition. And, I think as soon as my brothers moved to the AAA route, then, it was just like I fell along, of their kind of process. So, so it's AA, then AAA is obviously the highest. So for me, like I said, I started AAA when I was the youngest you could. And, I was pretty fortunate with, like I said, my brothers to help me with that process. Cause like you said, we were never a hockey family growing up. Right. Like, so they didn't know what was right and what was wrong. So it was a lot of trial and error, I'd say, with the older group. And, after that, they learned a lot and kind of like what to do with me. So that,
I'm curious. So like you brought up a point there about your parents, like, you were playing AA at one point and they were kind of like wanting you to stay there for a bit. Like what was the reasoning behind that? Like did they feel maybe like once you go up to AAA, like it's obviously, the next step, but it's also maybe for them as well, like a lot more traveling or something. And they wanted to make sure that as a family and yourself, especially, that you were ready before you made the jump?
for sure. I think also we're still kids at that age, right? You're thinking about it like, because you guys have it too, might squirts, right? So, I don't know how old you are, but you're still kind of a kid and you're still, you want to do stuff outside. And so I think maybe that kind of fell in, and also the travel. AAA, we were gone every weekend, like every other weekend, whether it be Detroit. We were in Detroit a ton, and then Canada obviously too. So I think that was the big thing. And like I said, my brothers had a big impact on why I played AAA because they all moved to the same organization. So maybe they thought, okay, maybe my brother was playing in midgets in CYA, that maybe my team would go to the same tournament. So then we'd have everybody kind of in the same, in Detroit. Maybe half is in Detroit and the other half is in Toronto, where my mom's here, my dad's here, and they're going to be buzzing back and forth from rinks. But maybe that was a big thing. It's a good question for sure. Something to ask my parents, but I would say those two things are probably the biggest.
It's a good point, right? Because like you mentioned something, and a couple other guests have kind of said the same thing. Like, at that age, you're still a kid. Like hockey is just so minor, and you want to enjoy being a child and all the stuff it brings with it. And that brought me to my next question. So when you're growing up, at this young age, and obviously hockey is one side of your focus, but what other did you try other sports? Were you doing other activities just to kind of see like, what you like best before evidently you end up choosing hockey?
Yeah, I was a big soccer player. I love soccer. It was also nice, you grow up with your like school kids and you play soccer, right? Rather than, I felt like with hockey, you have hockey friends because you're kind of all over, especially when you hit the AAA route. So I liked soccer, and then I played a little bit of lacrosse with my cousin, but that was through, you didn't. That was more like summer kind of thing. Um, the biggest thing my dad kind of said was no spring hockey. So I know it's kind of cliche from a lot of these athletes, but it is. I think it is, and I think it's kind of changed paths now, where a lot of these kids are playing hockey all the time. But for me, it was put the bag down and play soccer, play something different. And for me, it was running. It was good cardio shape, and we spent a lot of time in my lake house, kind of getting away from sports. And I think my dad never liked us playing baseball because I know some of my older brothers did, but your summer was kind of ruined. So he put a kibosh on us younger players or younger guys playing baseball. So.
That's very good though, I would say. Like you're right. Like I find kids today, and I know in Canada for sure, and maybe your experience too when you go home in the States in the summer is it just seems like hockey's 24/7 to them. And I've had other people on and they've said like, yeah, my kid's not doing that. Like he's gonna have either another, whether it's another sport or summers off, because you need that time to just kind of enjoy and also like rejuvenate. And as you mentioned, you were playing lacrosse or soccer, and that's just something completely different. Like the hockey bag was put down. So I think that's a good like lesson for a lot of people out there. Is yeah, like hockey can be your main focus, but it doesn't mean it has to be 24/7. Like you need to have a life. You need to give your body and especially your mind a break from
For sure.
that because you do it for 8 to 9 months during the year.
Absolutely. I agree on that for sure.
I'm curious. So team Illinois, and you also mentioned CYA. You when you were growing up, I believe you were Team Illinois under 13, then CYA U14, and then Team Illinois U16. Where's that based? Because obviously Illinois is a state itself. So like where is it based out of? Is it based out of Chicago, or like do you have kids coming from multiple
It's
cities?
Yeah, I mean, we would get a couple Wisconsin kids too, to be honest. Where I thought that was just crazy, where the parents would have to drive in for practice, like practicing at 5 o'clock. These kids are in school, so yeah, we got kids from all around. Actually, I had somebody live with me from Iowa. What was it? My TIU 16 year. So it kind of they get somehow they get these guys at young ages, which is pretty cool. And yeah, it's like I said, it's obviously mostly based around Chicago area, suburbs, and stuff like that. But you would get, yeah, these kids from, like I said, Wisconsin, or like different states kind of close by, and somehow their parents would love them enough to make that haul for them.
A lot of miles on the vehicles, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And then you end up switching teams, I'll say, to the Chicago Mission. And obviously, I remember from my playing days, like we would sometimes play them in tournaments wherever it was. Them and Team Illinois were the two teams I think really came to mind. But was there a reason for that change from leaving Team Illinois to Chicago, or is that just kind of how it worked when the ages changed?
So actually, a little bit of both, but the reason I left that TIU 13 year was I was actually playing defense. Which if you watch my game now or ask some coaches, I don't know if they would believe me, but yeah, I played defense. I just that's what I was doing, and when I was growing up, though, that was the most playing time as a kid, right? So I wanted to I wanted to play the most. So that was the first switch. My second switch was it just kind of aligned because when I switched from TIU 16 and stayed, I played 2 years of minors. Then it was just like Mission was the best team, and it just worked with the age group, I'd say, right? Like, growing up, there's certain teams that are really good, and that's kind of what fell into that spot. I was like, I wanted to play with the best players. I mean, that team was stacked. I mean, we had 12 guys go D1. So, I mean, I don't know if it's probably more heard about now, but at that time, I felt like I mean, 12 out of what do you carry? 18 when you're that age, or give or take. So, yeah, it just kind of worked out in that way. So, like I said, the first switch was because my defense to my offense, and my brother was my coach. So I actually just we knew the head coach too, but I kind of just hopped in the forward line because he was like, "Listen, you're a small little guy, and if you do want to have a future in this, you might have to look to go to forward, and this is probably your best opportunity to do it with me being the coach." So kind of worked out, and I kind of took his advice, and yeah, that's how she went.
Little family advice there. Just looking at your
Yeah,
roster, man. Like, yeah, you had some like Ryan Hartman's there. Obviously, he's a longtime NHLer. Vinny Inestrosa's there, and then also now I just noticed Scott Pooley's there. I remember he was in
yeah.
Finland a couple years ago. Now he's in Sweden. So yeah, like I mean, as you said, getting whatever it is, 12 guys from an 18 team roster getting D1. I mean, you guys must have been doing something right. Must have had a good coach too. Shout out to your brother
Yeah.
there.
No, that wasn't that year. Sorry,
Oh, okay,
I was a
sorry.
CYA. Yeah, don't give him that credit.
Oh,
Come on
sorry.
now.
Never mind. I'll take it back. Um, and then so after those years in like Chicago Mission, you end up making the jump to the USHL, and very like I mean, I think it's probably the best tier two junior league, I would say. It definitely is better than a lot of them in Canada. Maybe the BCHL would be the highest Canada one, but
Mhm.
very good league. They have their own draft and everything too. At that point in your kind of in your career, I know you went third round in 2010 in the draft there in the USHL draft, but was your plan always to go to USHL and get a scholarship, or had there been other interests for maybe I don't know how much interest for Americans in Chicago there is for the major junior route, whether it's OHL
Mhm.
or WHL, whatever one. Like had there been any thought that way, or was always I want to go to school?
Yeah, I'd say like when you start playing those U16, U18s, you kind of get those OHL scouts there at these, tournaments or whatever, and they're kind of, asking questions. Hey, like, would you come? And I always said yes, but I think deep down, my mom, kind of stopped that and said, "Listen, like, you're gonna get a degree, like, you're not gonna take this route," and that's I would say that kind of set the tone for me. So. Um, did I want to? I thought it'd be pretty cool. It's like I felt like like OHL and whatever major junior is like professional, more professional than where I was, and I thought that'd be pretty cool. But yeah, like I said, my mom was the one who kind of said, "Hey, you're getting a degree, you're playing this game, and you're gonna, go be a student athlete." And so that was my route.
Mom made the decision for you, but
Yeah.
mothers normally know best. But how was your experience there? So you played for the Fargo Force for 2 seasons there, and as I said, it's a very very competitive league. I'd say very professional too. Like from what I've heard from people who've either played there
Mhm.
or there other people I know have coached in that league, for example, like it's they're preparing you for the next step, I'd say. So would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think everything was great there. Facility wise, they live and die there. Like look at North Dakota, right? Like it's just down the street, and those fans are wild. And yeah, I think my time and my development was good there. My first, I went half a season, so that Mission U18 year, I made the jump, and actually they it's kind of funny how it worked out. It was the coach called me and said, "Hey, listen, we got a couple injuries and a couple suspensions. So why don't you just come up and if you don't get in a game, at least you can see a USHL game and see what Fargo's all about and kind of see the facilities and stuff like that." I was like, "Sure." So we took the trip up there, and one guy went down on Friday, and Saturday I was in playing the USHL. So it was kind of like whirlwind. And yeah, like you said, like for my year and a half there was nothing but professional. And that first year I had it was my assistant coach in Duluth. So it's kind of crazy how everything works out. And I loved my coach the next year is John Marks, a little older guy. He had some time in the NHL too. So um, everything was great. Like even for me, it was like working out was never my strong suit. So like him to like show me, say like the trainer there was just professional and to kind of get me the techniques down of power cleaning or stuff like that maybe I didn't really do. I just kind of played hockey. So yeah, like you said, absolutely that place was great and I loved it. And it definitely has a little heart of me in there still. So
That is one point I think a lot of junior guys should listen to is myself included. When I played, I worked hard in the gym, but I didn't really work smart. I didn't know how to do everything with proper technique. And I was talented enough to get away with not needing that, where, you just brought up a good point where you went to Fargo and these guys are teaching you, hey, this is how you do this is how you do that. Because the joke is when you go to school, you learn how to lift because you worked out so much in
yeah.
NCAA. But again, like I'm sure it was something where it was preparing you for like, hey, I want a Division I scholarship, so this is what I have to do, and I have to get ready for this. So it's
Mhm.
definitely good.
Sure.
I'm curious, like how many when you were playing in Fargo there, especially, as you said, your assistant coach from school ended up being there the one year, and your second year you ended up putting up 59 points. Uh, how many like teams were interested? Like, were you going on, visits and stuff? Because that's obviously part of the recruiting process is going on these visits, seeing the campus, meeting guys on the team, partying a little, whatever, like them showing you what each school has to offer.
Yeah, so mine was a little different since the teams kind of looking at me was kind of Minnesota based, I'd say. Uh, so I'm Chicago, so a little farther, and it worked out where we had like what was it? It would be like camp or going into my senior year, so Fargo's camp in the summer, right? So I did the camp, and then I actually went to go visit St. Cloud and Minnesota-Duluth. Kind of hit those schools. That previous year, I did visit Bemidji, and yeah, so that was kind of my route was a little different because I know the guys would go there and, like you said, maybe go party with the boys. And I really didn't get that because when you're going in summer, really no one's there. Kind of the local guys were there, but I was kind of hitting Duluth, and then I buzzed over to St. Cloud, and then kind of made the journey home to Chicago. So it was definitely a little different than what most people did, but I was kind of just using my time and where I was and the places, and it worked out good.
And what ended up like being the final factor or the reason that you ended up, you know, choosing Minnesota Duluth?
I kind of I watched a little bit more because growing up I really didn't never really watch college hockey. I'd say it was we never really watched even NHL for that matter, and I kind of slowly started watching, and that was the first thing was I kind of saw Jack Connolly, Mike Connolly, and Justin Fontaine. I know the line was obviously incredible, but they were smaller guys and stuff, and um, and when I took my visit, the assistant coach there was Derek Plant. He was the one who took me on. I loved him. I knew he was a smaller forward that obviously played a bunch of games in the NHL, and he's kind of like, listen, like we obviously have our structure here, but we let our guys play free, and we don't handcuff them. I'll always remember that line, like we don't handcuff them. And I was like, wow, that's incredible. I think that was the decision factor of me not choosing St. Cloud over Duluth. Like I respected that the way I wanted to play, and thought that the way I wanted to play was for me at my best was when I wasn't handcuffed, or I didn't have a coach screaming in the back of my head when I maybe did make a mistake. So
That's a good point because, obviously coaches want to, maybe they have a structure that they think works and that's what they want their team to play. But at the same time, they know, if we're going to get the best out of everybody, we need to let them kind of express the type of players they are and not, be giving them shit every time they come back to the bench. So that's a good, but seriously, it's a good like recruiting thing. Like just be open and honest with
Mm-hmm.
them. Hey, like we expect a lot here, but at the same time, like show us what you can do. Like there's no shackles going to be on you.
Sure.
And evidently your first year, I mean, they could tell the shackles weren't on.
Yeah.
As a freshman, you end up putting up 34 points. Don't want to sound like cocky here when I say this, but the adjustment seemed pretty easy for you, or was it, good line mates, or we'll give credit to the coaches? Like, how was your first year there? Because it's hard for guys to make that adjustment so quickly.
Yeah, obviously good line mates. Number one for sure. Like I played with Tony Cameronese and a guy named Mike Seidel. Tony obviously played. He played in the American League a little bit, and then made this jump over here. He's played a lot. He actually just retired last year, so give credit to them. But also, like we had a lot of opportunity. I went in the year after they won the national championship, and a lot of those guys left. So I actually like originally I wasn't supposed to go in, but JT Brown ended up leaving for what do you go Tampa. So when he left, they opened the spot and they said out of all the people, he said I was the most qualified to come in. And so I kind of took it as like, listen, it's anyone's game here. There's what do we have? Seven, I want to say 7 or 8 like classmates coming in with me. So I'm like, okay, it's anyone's game. Like you can take this, right? Like, they lost all their leading scorers. So who's gonna come in and produce? And I was fortunate enough, like I said, to play with a good line and we clicked. And yeah, like I said, I took that opportunity and kind of ran with it.
When did you find out that you were gonna go? Like, because as you said, like JT would have signed, I don't know when he would have
Late.
signed. Yeah,
It was late.
yeah, that made me just kind of like wonder, like, how you were able to, because like your mind up to that point would have been like, yeah, I'm going back to the USHL probably for one more year, and you're focused on that, and then all of a sudden you get this call and a decision to make, like, hey, can you come now? Which is probably in like I'd say 1 to 2 months. Like, you know, might have to adjust your training, get
Welcome,
ready for
welcome,
school. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Welcome to college hockey,
yeah,
bud.
yeah. No, it's kind of thrown in
Uh,
the water, but I mean, you obviously adjusted, which is a big test to your character.
Yeah, they kind of I don't know if Duluth told me or I was just hearing things, hockey's a small world. You hear things that he's going to sign and be ready to go. So in the back of my mind I was like either way like my training kind of stays the same, you obviously just want to work on your game in the off season, get better physically. College hockey's men, right? Like, they could be 25, 26 years old. Like I mean, those are men, and you're like a little boy. I'm 18 years old. So yeah, my training stayed the same, but in the back of my head, I was open for whatever. And like I said, you get opportunity, and you either run with it, or like you said, there's other people that will.
And how was your experience like at Minnesota Duluth? Like, I'm not familiar with that school in particular. Like, how was the campus? Like, how was the rink, the support, downtown, all that stuff? Like for any listener who, might not know anything about it, like what would you say about Minnesota Duluth?
Yeah, I mean it's super outdoorsy, and I don't know if I qualify as the outdoorsy type or the fishing or the hunting. It's right on a lake there, on Lake Superior. They actually just built the arena when I came in. Was it a year before? So I mean, you're getting the best facilities. And it was a smaller school, which I think also fits me pretty well. I have a hard time taking tests and stuff like that. So, I was able to get the help I needed to, like, to succeed off the ice. And so it was like, yeah, I want to say it was like 13,000, so a little smaller. Campus is kind of cool. It's all basically you can get around once you get into campus. You can kind of get around. Everywhere and you don't have to go outside, which is nice because I mean Duluth is freezing in the winter, so in the snow and stuff like that. So I mean you see people coming from the dorms, right, like just in shorts and a shirt, and I'm like, at first I was like, what's going on here? And then one of the guys, local guys, Andy Walensky, who I played with for 4 years, he was like, man, you don't have to like ever go outside unless you got to get back to like your apartment. Right. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, I love my time there. Met some great people. Love the coaching staff and just kind of the organization. Can't say anything really bad about that.
One guy I wanted to bring up who would have probably enjoyed the cold because he's Finnish is Kazimir Kaskasuo,
Oh yeah.
who I met him through the gaming world, and a buddy of mine played with him in the AHL, and I'm hoping to get him on the podcast down the road. But he came there. I believe he was there only for 2 years, your last 2 years. But like, how was it for you having him? Because obviously he had some good years there, and then went on to sign in Toronto there with the Leafs. So like, how was he? Was he? I'm curious. Was he into the kind of the YouTube kind of GoPro stuff back then, or did that come later?
He wasn't into that stuff yet. I know he's like a big influencer now online, and but yeah, obviously, I mean, he's a phenomenal goalie, right? In college, you need a goalie. Like the tournament, when you get to the tournament, it's you win 4 games, you're a national champion. Like so, it's not best of 7. So you get a hot goalie, you're in trouble.
That is one
Uh,
of the.
so yeah, like you said, my first 2 years we didn't make. What's that?
No, sorry,
Did you
I think
hear?
we cut in and out there.
Oh,
All
yeah. What'd you
good.
hear? What'd you hear last?
No,
Can you
I
hear me
heard
now?
you, but like I think like it stopped for a second, but it's okay. I was just gonna say like the tournament thing is like so crazy, like because the one game,
Oh,
like that's such
oh
a
yeah.
college thing where I don't think a lot of people who never go that route don't understand that because it's like the OHL or pro for that matter, like they have best of 5, best of 7, so you can afford to slip up a game or so. But in college, it's literally you have, as you said, you have to have a goalie like in his best form. Your team has to be
Right.
buzzing on everything, and you got to put together solid hockey for those 4 or 6 games, whatever. And you can't lose. It's just like kind of a gauntlet, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's what makes it fun, right? Like, unless you're one of the top teams that get beat in the first round from a 16 seed, which happens all the time, right? Like you said, hot goalie. Okay, that top team's out, so now it's anyone's game kind of thing. I see the pros and cons, but yeah, it is what it is. They've had it like that forever. So,
I think.
but go. Oh,
Sorry, I think what I was gonna say is I think your senior year, you guys had a longer run because I remember I think that was Kaz's first YouTube video, and you guys were playing someone in the playoffs. I remember watching it the other day, but one of the years
we
he was there, you guys
we
would have had a decent run, I believe.
we went my junior year and senior year. We went to the second game, and junior year we lost to BC, and then my senior year we lost to BU. So we went to the tournament 2 years out of my 4. The first two, going back to Kaz and like having that goalie, we didn't make the tournament, right? Like, we struggled a little bit there too. And we were a young team. The next year after me, we brought in another 6 to 7 freshmen. So yeah, it took us a little bit, and once we got that goalie, it kind of solidified everything for us, and we made a little run. Obviously, don't want to lose to a Boston team 2 years in a row, which is probably the hardest pill to swallow, but it is what it is. And
I mean, they got good programs too, so it's one of those things you don't want to lose, but you can respect it.
for sure.
But so before we talk about, your hockey career after, what did you mentioned you weren't so good at tests. I mean, I don't know who was good at tests in college, but
Yeah.
what did you take when you were there? What did you graduate with? Did you end up graduating? Not it's not
Well,
a chirp, but just
everyone asked that question too, just knowing me. But yeah, I did. I did it in 4 years too. I know there's other guys that didn't. Took them a little while, but yeah, I graduated in communication and then minored in health education and promotion. I didn't really know what I wanted to go into. I wasn't, there wasn't something that really stuck out with me when I went there my freshman year. Like I said, I think going in young, I was just, yeah, I was so, I don't know, just so convinced in playing hockey and, just kind of finding my way and what I really wanted to do. And that was kind of one that I just said, hey, I'll start with this, and maybe if I find something that I like, I'll switch. And just ended up not switching, and get my degree. And I think in this world, it's kind of a lot about who you know, and what connections you can make with playing the game of hockey, and kind of just go from there in the future.
I really wish colleges would kind of change the way they structure um their schooling. Like I feel like it's such, guys and girls are going to school at, 18, 19, 20, and I feel like that's really hard for you to pick a major and be like, yeah, this is what I want to do for the next 30 years of my life. Where I feel like they should do like the first 2 years should kind of be like, the elective slash like you're trying things out, and then maybe by your third year you have to declare. Because I like, you know, I changed school, so I had to change degrees because the second school didn't have the first degree. And then like people just go into stuff to like I went into business because it's so generic, so you can cover so many
Yeah.
categories. But I don't know how you feel
I
about that.
I
But
think the problem is, though, if they did that, right, that's why people wouldn't graduate on time. They're taking all these electives. Like I was able, because being an athlete, like you get early registration. So I was taking core classes with juniors and seniors, because I was like, let's get these out of the way. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's get the hard classes out of the way. And um, I was fortunate enough to have a very good what's it called?
guidance counselor.
Yeah, guidance counselor. Sorry, I couldn't think of the word. We kind of found her, myself and Andy Winsky. We found her through our public speaking class, when like our first year, and we're like, hey, like, I think you'd be pretty good. Help us out. We don't really know where we're going here. So, because I found that was pretty strange too about college. There wasn't like just like a hockey one, or maybe there was, and I decided to go a different route that I'm not 100% sure on. But yeah, she was awesome. She made sure we graduated on time, and got the hard classes out of the way. And my senior year, I want to say, like, I took 9 credits my last, or both last semesters. I was just cruising, man.
It's a smart way to do it. Like get it over with early, and then your last year there is focused on someone like yourself who obviously I think would like to go play pro hockey. You can focus on the more of the hockey aspect, or if there's someone who knows it's going to be their last year of hockey in general, then they can just enjoy it more and not be so stressed with school. So
For
that's
sure.
definitely a positive to doing that. Your senior year there, like, was it in your head at the end? Like, obviously you were planning on graduating, but was it always like, yeah, I want to go try pro hockey? And were you getting, a good amount of interest for signing when you were done that senior year?
Yeah, I had a little bit of interest. I was having a pretty good year, and we kind of had an idea that it was going to be just kind of, I think, looking back, where my agent had a lot of clients, and kind of knew maybe the GM or whatever. So yeah, it worked out where it was my last game, and they kind of put it together that I was going to go to Erie, and maybe give it a shot. And I didn't know, usually you see a lot of college guys even go there for a little bit, and just get a taste of what it is. And next year, who knows, we'll go back in the summer and kind of figure out what our plan was.
Looking at that Erie roster there, pretty
Oh, I had to look him up too, because I was like, man, I remember playing with some pretty good guys. Like Josh Anderson was there, Bjorkstrand. It was just, he's a goal scorer in the NHL. Like, even TJ Tynan, I knew him. I knew him too from Chicago. Him and Broadhurst are Chicago guys. I mean, Tynan absolutely torches the American League every year. So it's like, I mean, that team was stacked, and I was like, what am I doing here? Like, where am I going to fit in, kind of thing. So I mean, obviously I could have went to a bottom team in the American League, right, and just hopefully kind of got more of an opportunity. But it is what it is. You can't change the past now. But that team was good. So it was kind of cool to kind of see, like, they were coming down. They play some games in the NHL, and then come down for Erie. And even Warinsky, I went there, and Warinsky went like probably a day after me, and like, I don't know, he's making what, 9 million in the NHL.
not bad.
No.
No, I just it's yeah, as you said, there was a lot of a lot of guys there went on to have whether it was good NHL careers or still playing or even AHL careers. And one guy who was on your team there, Marcus Hannakainen,
Oh yeah.
plays on Mannheim right now. So
Oh,
shout
does
out,
he?
yeah,
No
shout out to him.
way.
So,
Yeah, shout out, buddy.
but so one thing that's very curious. So you end up signing there, as you said. You get a couple games in, then you end up going to Reading, I believe, for the playoffs. And after that season, like, what was your decision or kind of thinking process? Because instead of, a lot of guys when they come out of college, like, they'll want to try at least one full year in North America. And you yourself, like, obviously you had proven you could score in the East Coast, and maybe you would, whether it's an AHL two-way or invite to camp, whatever, like there was definitely from the outside looking in, it looks like there was the option of that, but you went right over to the Allsvenskan, which is a tremendous league in Sweden. But I'm just curious, like, what was kind of your thought process there?
Just kind of going back and forth with my agent. He kind of made it pretty plain and simple that I wasn't going to be a full-time American League player. My game really didn't fit that. I wanted the open ice. Those I don't know how good my wall battle was that he thought, right? And I think the game of the American League or the NHL and the coast is a lot of wall battles and stuff like that. And the biggest thing was like he's like, hey, go, let's get you overseas. Let's get you overseas and let's play a year in Allsvenskan, great league, like you said, and let's get to the SHL, and then maybe we can talk about coming back on a better contract, right? He said I had interest getting a one-way American League deal, but he did mention that I'd be in the coast faster than I would play games in the American League. So it kind of just put myself in perspective, and I just felt like, all right, he kind of knows best. I don't really know, what's the right path, and yeah, I mean, ended up that's the decision we made kind of together.
Well, it's a I don't want to say like a crazy jump, but like it's like if you have that opportunity to get to that league like that quick, like I mean, I think your agent was probably pushing you in the
Yeah.
right direction. And obviously you went to Moto first, and then you end up going to Bjork Loven later that year. And then the next season you go to Bjork Loven and you play with buddy of mine, Alex Hutchings,
Oh
the
yeah,
Bjork
Hachi,
Loven,
shout out,
Bjork
my
Loven
boy.
legend. I'm curious, how was it seeing that guy every day in the room? I know me personally, anytime I get a Snapchat from that guy, I know it's gonna be something hilarious. So I just try to open it and get ready to have a laugh.
Oh yeah, he's the best, man. Like absolute best. You know, person. He brings the best out of everyone. He's just his nicknames, the way he can get anyone up, right? Like you're feeling down, you just give Hutchie a call and you're just back to living life. And talk about he was a good player. Obviously, he probably scored what 20 goals, and I mean, I told him he's been there forever. I was like, man, let's go somewhere else. But yeah, I thought also he helped me. Me and Candace were really close too at the time. I had an ex girlfriend who they were close, so she took care of me a lot. I would say Candace, in aspects because, like you said, I went from college straight overseas where they speak a different language. I'm in a different country. I'm a young kid, like just kind of finding my way around town, and yeah, that year was probably my favorite hockey year just to be with him, and uh, like you said, she took care of me and kind of off the rink, and like you said, you can talk to Hutchie and never have a bad day.
Did you I'm curious because she's very known for, well, that family in general, just taking everyone in wherever they go. Did you get the invite over for some Candace 7 course meals? Because every
Oh
time,
yeah,
oh yeah.
oh yeah, once a week, man. I'd probably say once a week. I'd just be like, I gotta get over here. Like I said, I mean, I was college guy. I wasn't cooking the meals this guy gets. He'd send me Snapchats back and forth with his meals, and I was like, can I just come over right now, or can I cater in? And I mean, he's got it made, man. Like, what a life.
Dude, like the meals are like restaurant quality, and I shit you not, there's not a spot on the plate empty. Like it's
No, no,
full.
filled and all healthy too. There's nothing. You're not crushing anything bad. Like,
No,
oh yeah, like
she should open up her own restaurant for God's sakes. But think
Yeah,
she's busy with the.
we're giving this guy way too much credit, by the way. If he
I
listens
know.
to this,
Sorry, this is your podcast today. We'll go
yeah.
back.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. He's one of my best buds. I still talk to him like probably once a day, even here. So yeah, like I said, he helped me a lot that year, and like you said, Candace opening up, being like a mom figure, I guess I would say for me. I was at his wedding too, so it was pretty cool. We've stayed very close, and we'll continue to stay close.
You went to Spencer's.
Is that was that where his wedding was?
Is that like it was the thing at, like with the water behind it, and like the glass
Oh yeah,
everywhere?
yeah. Is that what it was
Yeah,
called, Spencer's? Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That was we were we had a couple too many beverages, but other than that, yeah, that was a riot.
I'm sure you met Uncle Brian. So another big factor in his life. But no, I like one last thing on him. I mean, I understand it because obviously their daughters are a bit older now, but it was, I was hoping he would still play because I think he was still in good shape and still could do it. But sometimes it's a family decision, and you got to move on. But I'm curious after the year you're with him, like, you had a good season, 33 points there, and making the jump to the SHL, like, your agent always talked to you about it, like, hey, like go do a year or two here and then we'll get you here. And evidently it ends up happening. Like, someone who's experienced both, like, how big of a difference would you say between those two leagues? Because the Allsvenskan itself is a very good league. Like, it's better than like
Mhm.
the Del 2 in Germany for sure. So I'm curious, how is the jump and the level difference?
I mean, the SHL is legit. I think the biggest thing was they just rarely make mistakes, and in the SHL, if you make a mistake, it's in the back of your net, like bang. Um, they're bigger, stronger, faster. I'd say that's I felt like the defensemen were just men, right? Like I mean, obviously the NHL, like you'd see like how big these guys are and just how strong and the way they can close on you. Like you get over the blue line, man. You gotta know what decision you're making, right? You pull up that D is just on you with stick on puck, and I wouldn't say it's like overly physical or anything, but they're physical in the right ways. So I think that was the biggest thing is like you said, there's more mistakes in Allsvenskan. Um, and like you said, it's just another step where the timing, you have less time to make those decisions. Um, you're obviously playing with better players too, so um, yeah, I mean the biggest thing is you make a mistake, you're getting scored on.
Just watching highlights, like, one, everyone in that league can skate, doesn't matter what size you are. And like you
Mm-hmm.
said, I think like it's not that it's like more physical, but they just understand like when and how to close the gap as quickly as
Yeah.
possible to take away that time and space. Where you, as you said, like you need to know your next three moves before you get over the blue line
Oh yeah.
or it's a turnover.
Yeah, or you just gotta dump the puck, and then you look like, I mean, you like the D can step because their forwards are back checking so hard, like they're going straight to the house, stopping and sorting it out, overloading. You get a puck in the corner, man, it's an overload. You're like you're pinned in 2 seconds, and I'm a small little guy, so I just kind of had to find my groove in there, and yeah, that I mean that league, like I said, is for sure legit.
And one cool thing you got to experience, we talked about it off camera, how I'm kind of going through it now on the management part, is you got to play in the Champions Hockey League.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, and lucky for you, this was the year like where Corona ended up happening at the end of the year, but you guys still at the start would have got to experience it. So, how was that experience for you playing in that tournament? And like, what teams did you guys end up playing?
Yeah, that's incredible because then I was able to go to different countries and kind of see like the different hockey each country plays, right? Like everyone has kind of their own little niche in the style. And just to like kind of play against, I mean, you're playing some of these Switzerland teams. Some of these guys are played in the NHL for a long time. Like it's pretty cool to say, like, you were playing against them. Who'd we play? Bern, I want to say, Lausanne, Belfast, Augsburg in Germany, Liberec in the Czech league there. Um, and then who else? Oh, yeah, I think we lost. I want to say Finlandia, our own Swedish team. Like, um, but yeah, like you said, man, that was something special for me to play in. I mean, you're playing on NHL Network too. I think some of the games, because I know I got some texts from my buddies that were actually in the NHL being like, "What are you doing on here?" But like, um, so yeah, like you said, it was pretty cool. And like I think the biggest thing for me, because I kind of like to just kind of watch the different styles of, whether it even be players or just like how they play. Maybe Switzerland traps or whatever. It's just, I don't know, everything with it besides the travel, I'd say, um, was great. And you got to play more games, and I love playing games. So
It's such a cool experience. And it's funny. I was trying to remember and I ended up thinking correctly. Like you played Lausanne. So my best friend from home played there at the time. He's got a Swiss license, but that was
who was that again? That I know who you're talking about.
Josh Juris.
Yeah. I played against him that year, right?
Yeah. So, and
He's
I think either that year or the year before was when they just got that brand new rink. So it was,
Oh, really?
so it
Yeah,
was like brand
that
new.
rink was. I remember it just being so loud too. Like their fans are
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah, it's a good spot. But no, as you said, it's cool to one, see all these other countries play, but also see them in general because as you know, like it's rare you stay in one country your whole
Hmm.
European pro career, I would say. So you could also be kind of looking like, oh, like maybe this could be an option down the road, or this would be cool to play. Like, and no spots also you'd want to avoid.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it was hard playing the teams like I think you mentioned Belfast or Cardiff, wherever you played in the England League, because those teams like that's their Stanley Cup, so they're just freaking
Oh, they're
going
buzzing.
going 100.
Oh yeah, that was, yeah, for sure. But the last game that they were close, so I remember like a couple of guys were like, "I'm just kind of hanging out here now. Like this is not like a meaningless game. So like, why did we even waste the money to travel here?"
No, it's good for I think it's better for those lower teams too because they can kind of see like, hey, here's the elite. This is where you guys want to
Yeah,
be.
for
But no,
sure.
it's cool. And I'm curious. Like so later that year, whatever the reason is, but you end up going back to North America and go to the coast for about a year and a half. Like, was that just kind of one of those, situations where it was a good change for you, kind of reset, or was there something like another reason that you were just going home?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to speak about it now because it's so long ago, and I had a bad concussion too my first year, and kind of worked back and getting that, and obviously Lulio being it's a dark city, right? Like you don't get much sunlight, and I just felt like I was kind of battling my first year, but I battled to come back, and I played the playoffs, which was awesome, and ended up I was having some problems in the summer again that kind of crept back into me. A lot of it had to do with my eyes. I didn't feel like they were in sync. They were kind of jumping a little bit. So it took me, I actually went a little later that year too. So it took me a little bit just to be like, all right, now I feel great. You don't want to go into the beginning of the season where, you mess with a concussion. It's just, you see it nowadays that how much, more how much they're actually taking into consideration, and the health factor of us athletes. So yeah, I kind of waited a little bit, and it just was like, I was in the north for 4 years. Yeah, 2 years in Pure Cleveland and two in Lulio, and I just felt like I was slowly, having a depressing, couple of months, and I thought the best was just to kind of go home and reevaluate. If you stop loving the game, and it's not, the happiness is not there when you go to the rink every morning, as it was something for me to be like, well, what just happened? I was just a kid and I love this game, and now there was just health effects that were kind of messing with my mind, and yeah, they were, Lulio was good about it, and tried everything to help me, and I kind of just went in there and said, "Hey, listen, I think it's better for us to terminate this deal." And definitely heartbreaking for me playing in the best league in the world, and having some downs. But for my health was my priority, and I felt like going home with my parents and my family, and just being around them could switch me right into loving the game again. So yeah, like you said, I went back and I took 2 weeks off and kind of reevaluated.
Well, first I got to say good for you, man, because that's such a hard decision.
Yeah.
Because as you said, like you're playing in one of the best leagues in Europe, probably top three, and such a great opportunity. You worked so hard for this, and evidently they're going to try to fill the spot when you leave because it's a pro
For
business. But you
sure.
you
It's
had to
business.
make this decision for yourself, being like, hey, not enjoying this right now. I need to go reset. I need to get some help. And that takes a big step. So good on you for that. And I'm just curious, don't want to go down too much memory lane here because obviously it's a tough memory, but
Yeah,
like
sure.
what did you end up doing for those, like there's many people out there who have had concussions or are dealing with concussions. So like what did you specifically do that kind of helped you kind of get right again and also kind of get back that love for the game?
I did physical therapy for my neck because there was a lot of my neck that was causing the headaches, and then I also had to do visual training again. Kind of one way to put it, like the way I told my mom was, "Mom, I'm having trouble like when I'm driving, like I can't see how close and far like this car is, and I see he's braking a little bit, but that distance was the hardest thing for me." I know you speak of Kaz, and Kaz does that visual edge or whatever. I think. So yeah, I saw somebody that I worked. I don't know how I found him, but I know he worked with some of the Blackhawks players, and there was a lot of stuff on the computer, kind of getting that back, and kind of basically like how you strengthen muscles. You got to strengthen, your vision, and get these neck kinks out of the way, and see. I saw a chiropractor. I was doing anything I could to get back, and my vertebrae was a little off, so that could trigger up here. Everything starts from the bottom and goes up. I mean, I learned a ton, and so yeah, it was just everything I could do, and it was for me seeing I had to see a neurologist, just finding these people and kind of crossing off what it could be, and just working day in and day and night. Like I know I was doing stuff all day, and I just felt like I wanted to get back. This was the game I loved, and also I wanted to get back for my health, whether I just wasn't even playing hockey, right? Like you wake up and you feel shitty. That's nobody wants that. So yeah, it took a while and took longer than I wanted, but I'm back. I'm feeling healthy than ever, and it's pretty cool to see like, oh, I was there and now I'm here. Now I'm like, and I think thing with a lot of people struggling with concussions. It's just that depression and the anxiety that takes over. So for me, I found a way to deal with it, and I leaned a lot on my family and my mom for number one. And um, like you said, I got to pat myself on the shoulder and come out and make now I'm feeling healthy. So
No, good for you, man. Like it's such had a concussion myself, and like just to say like it's so unknown because like it affects everyone differently. Like someone can get one and 2 days later, yeah, I'm ready to go again. And then other people you saw like Crosby was out for two
yeah,
years or whatever. Like it's and as you said, like it wasn't even about hockey first. It was, hey, I just want to get back to
oh yeah,
feeling normal, like, not waking up and with headaches every day and stuff. So good for you. I'm happy that you found a way to get healthy because that some people it's still their battle. Um,
I
and then
appreciate it for sure. I mean, that's
so eventually when you end up feeling better, which, let's get this story happier again here.
yeah. Sorry to go down so deep
No,
memory
it's
lane
it's good.
there,
It's
but
good. It's good. Man, it's totally good. Like it fascinates me. Like, and I was like just kind of listening, and I was like, fuck, I feel for this guy, right? Like it's,
yeah.
because you see so many people struggle with it and just like can't find the answer, and you obviously were able to. But how did the Slovakia job come about? Because as I said, you kind of played in the coast there, and it was when you came back, that was basically when COVID started, and then you had the one year where
Mhm.
COVID was there, like the whole year, and it, if hockey without hockey kind of thing, and you end up in 21 there, 22 that season, you end up going over to Slovakia. Like, how did that opportunity come about?
Yeah, I mean, once COVID hit, I was like, all right, well, nobody knows what's going on here, so I'm not going to go overseas. I wanted to go right back overseas, right? Like I said, I was feeling healthy, and so I had to play that year, and it wasn't a good year for me. It was COVID, for anyone, right? It just kind of sucked, and we had to live through it and move on, and yeah, it just kind of came about. My agent found Zamky and said, what do you think? I know he had some other clients play over here, and they played in Zvolen and stuff like that. So he's like, yeah, he's like, they're whatever you want to call it, a lower budget team. call a spade, but he's like, you can get your playing time. And he's like, I know you can succeed. And I have high respect for the coach there. As in Moj, I know he's in the Dell 2 now. So, just give me the opportunity, right? Like, let's get back and give me the opportunity. And so, yeah, it came about, and I was like, looking back, I've been here for 3 years, or I guess this is year 3.
Yeah, you seem to be enjoying it. One thing I wanted to ask you just kind of about like stuff you've been through, like you mentioned the concussion thing, but was there any other adversities you kind of went through? Like, and you mentioned yourself, like you're not the biggest player. Was that ever an obstacle in your life? Like you briefly mentioned, like you didn't go to the coast out of college because of like the battles and stuff, because you are a smaller guy and the bigger ice fit your game more. But did you feel that that ever kind of, I don't want to say limited, but like affected you getting opportunities places, or you've always just kind of, you know, I am how I am, but I'm going to show them, I can score goals, work hard kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that's my character. Growing up with all my brothers beating me up and, whatever, like I have that grittiness in me. And, I like to be in people's faces, whether they're 6'4" or whatever. Like I compete. I want to compete. I might not win every battle, but, I'm going to show up to the dance. Right. Like not the actual dance, but,
They think so, but
no, absolutely not. But yeah, like I said, I think it's a mindset, right? Like if you have that mind that you're going to outcompete that guy, whether he's that big, then go get him, right? Like so, I just had that mentality kind of because like you said, I had to overcome it because I had to do something else, right? I didn't have that size or weight, and so I had to find different ways of how to do that. And the biggest thing I said was mindset, and that's what something you can control.
no, I respect that. That's very, very true. Control what you can control, as they say. Um,
Mhm.
Couple more for you here before we let you go here, but you know, mention you're going into your third season here in Nove Zamky, I believe, and like, so how long have you thought about like how long you want to play for, or are you just kind of taking it, like everyone enjoying the process, going year by year, and just reevaluating after every season?
Yeah, kind of just reevaluating and just enjoying it, right? Like it's gonna come to an end, and you're gonna miss the hell out of it. And so right now, I'm loving life, competing, and you're getting an income on the side. Like so, it's like you're playing just like this sport as a kid, right? So I always go back to that. I'm just a kid playing a grown man's game, making an income, right? Like so, it's pretty cool to say. And yeah, like you said, enjoy it. I've had good times here. I met a girl here as well, so um, been with her since I've been here, and like I said, yeah, it's been just enjoying the process.
And especially after like what we talked about, just what you've been through, with that injury from before, like it probably had a new outlook on, this isn't going to last forever. I might as well enjoy it and, just take in every day. And
Oh yeah.
how's your Slovakian coming now that you met a girl there? Is she forcing you to learn?
Oh, she speaks English, man. I should definitely learn more. I know I've tried a little bit. I downloaded a couple apps, and it's a hard language to learn. Like it's hard for me, and maybe I'll get into it more. I know she probably wants me to, but I'm fortunate she speaks English, and if we go out, then it's nice that she can just translate to me the menu and boom boom order and let's go. Let's bon appetit.
That would be a hard language, so I don't blame you there. But uh have you thought about, eventually whenever we all have to take the next step, have you thought about what you want to do after hockey? Like, do you still want to do something in terms of hockey being inside on that side of it, or do you want to just completely go away from it and go do something else?
Yeah, I kind of go back and forth. I would love to do something, but what would that something be? I don't know. I don't know. I see. I'd rather be an assistant coach than a head coach. So maybe something along those lines, or I would love to be like something in the scouting. Whether who that be for, who knows, right? But kind of just scout these younger players. I mean, you look how the hockey game has grown too, and how good these players are, right? Like it'd be pretty cool to kind of see, like, oh, that kid's only 13, like and just learn about that stuff, and that's something that kind I like, watching players and do, or, like I said, or maybe just get away. Like, you've been doing this for so long. That'll just have to, come to me and within the next couple of years when I decide to retire and then kind of just go from there.
No, that's a fair look at it, but hopefully you're many years away from that. I hope for you you can
Yeah, I
keep
appreciate
playing.
it.
I tell everyone, man, like it's nice to have a plan, but play as long as you can because it's as soon as you're done and you do miss it and it's a great game. But two more for you. So, I mean, I think I know the answer to this one because you've been pretty open with it throughout the podcast, but did you think when you look back on your career you've had so far, did you think you would have had the career you've had, like play in the leagues you've been able to play in?
Oh, absolutely not. I thought I was just playing hockey to play hockey because my brothers did, right? Like I told you before, like I didn't really watch it that much. I probably didn't watch it until I got to Fargo, I'd say, and then kind of realized like, oh dang, like I'm pretty good, but I'm not like great. I'm not the best at that age, and kind of slowly started getting better and better. I'm like, oh, like maybe I could play a little professional. And obviously, like you watch the YouTube of like your favorite players growing up, and you're like, oh, like I want to go to the NHL, 100%. But like what that meant, I didn't know. I always go back to the little kid playing street hockey and just loving the game. And yeah, like I said, it's been pretty cool to kind of look back, and I appreciate you having me on this because, you know, I've kind of forgot some of this stuff as well. Like you've been playing so long, and it brings back great memories as you as a kid, and yeah.
Memory lane, man. Like it's crazy like how these things trigger it, but that's why I do this and I like as I said I generally like hearing everybody's story. It's cool to see, how everyone viewed the game, how they got to where they are. But last one here for you. So I like to end with this one with all my guests. What is one piece of advice, or if you have multiples fine as well, that you would give your younger self? So if you were talking to little Austin Farley back when he was 15, 16 years old, what are one or multiple pieces of advice you'd give him? And also that can also pertain to, the younger listeners out there who are also listening.
Ooh, that's a hard one. You really put me on the spot here. I guess I should have watched one of your
Here's a
podcasts.
test off the start. There you go.
Yeah. I usually get extended time on these, so um, I guess I'd say for others is keep loving the game, like love the game. Like if you ever don't love it, um, just find something else, right? Like this should always be fun. Like I know I kind of look back and I do see these younger kids like in everything they put in and everything they're doing and everything, which I do totally respect. I just think be a kid, love the game, have fun with your buddies, and when it comes to it, just keep working, man. Like lunchbox mentality and just along the ride, just have fun and enjoy every second of it because one day it will come to an end.
I don't even know how to reply to that because it's so true.
That's pretty good, eh?
Guy stumped me.
Yeah.
No, man, it's so true. We see it so much today that whether it's kids, parents, outside influences that just put so much pressure on them thinking that,
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, why do we play this game? Because it's fun.
Exactly, man.
Everything
That's
else is a bonus. And
for sure.
I'm sure you talk to the great guys, the legends of the NHL, Sidney Crosby's, the Ovechkins, they'll say, yeah, I started playing because it was fun. It wasn't because I was good at it. It's because I was having
Mm-hmm.
fun. But
For sure.
no, man, perfect way to end it. I appreciate you taking the time. I appreciate you going down memory lane and even some stuff there I thought was very you know, informational, especially about the concussion stuff because it's such an unknown with a lot of people. And yeah, I'm excited to follow you this year. Obviously, you guys' season just started last weekend, and
Mm-hmm.
2 games down, 48 to go, and hopefully a long playoff run for you guys. But Austin, I appreciate you taking the time, and let's stay in touch, eh?
Sounds good, buddy. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate being on here. It's been great. So, good luck with everything you're doing, and yeah, good luck to you guys.
Give this guy a follow on Instagram. Also give our pod a follow. Check it out on YouTube if you want to see the video to this interview. And until next week, cheers and ciao.